My 3-year-old ended up with a broken keychain at the family gift exchange, while her cousins were opening iPads, bicycles, and expensive jackets. My mom laughed it off and said, "Well, she's not really part of the inner family." I got up, grabbed the gifts from my car, looked them dead in the eye, and said, "This was the last Christmas you'll ever get anything from me." The room went silent until my sister screamed. I didn't even realize Christmas could hum with tension until that moment. You know how holiday noise usually feels warm. Wrapping paper ripping, kids yelling, someone burning cookies in the kitchen, fake cheer layered over old grudges. That kind of chaos. Except this time the sound shifted. It wasn't joy anymore. It was pressure, like the room itself was holding its breath, waiting to see how much I'd tolerate. Let me back up a little because context matters. Every year, my family insists on a big gift exchange for the kids. My mom always says, as if that makes everything pure and fair by default. And every year I tell myself it'll be different this time. Every year I'm wrong. We were all squeezed into my parents' living room. The tree was overdressed. Ribbons, ornaments, glitter everywhere. Phones were already recording before the kids even sat down. My sister's kids went first, of course. They always do. An iPad screaming, a bike screaming louder, a designer jacket. Cue applause, hugs my mom, wiping her eyes like she just witnessed a miracle. I glanced down at my daughter sitting cross-legged beside me. She's 3. She'd practiced saying thank you all week. She was vibrating with excitement, clutching her little bow-covered gift like it was treasure. Then it was her turn. She climbed into my lap, warm, trusting, completely unaware of how cruel adults can be without even trying. I helped her tear the paper slow and careful because she wanted to do it herself. Inside was a keychain, not a toy, not even a new one, a scratched-up keychain. The metal was dull. The little charm barely hung on. And when she shook it once, the clasp snapped and hit the floor with a sad little click. She froze. Then she picked it up, examined it seriously, and smiled at me. "Mama," she said, soft and proud. "It's shiny, that smile. I need you to understand this." That smile almost broke me in half because she didn't know, she didn't compare. She didn't question why her cousins had boxes the size of her entire torso, while she had something that looked like it came from the bottom of a junk drawer. I swallowed hard. And that's when my mom laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a whoops, real laugh, comfortable, familiar, the kind that assumes everyone's on the same page. "Well," she said, waving her hand like she was brushing crumbs off the table, "she's not really part of the core family." I felt the room tilt. Do you know that feeling when something old comes rushing back all at once? Every holiday where I was the afterthought. Every reminder that I didn't quite fit. Every time I was told I was too sensitive for noticing patterns that were impossible to miss. And suddenly, it wasn't about a keychain. It was about my daughter learning right there at 3 years old that love in this family had tears. I stood up. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. My hands were shaking, but my face felt weirdly calm, almost clear, like something finally clicked into place. I walked out to my car. No one stopped me. No one asked if I was okay. Now, pause for a second. What would you have done here? Left quietly and swallowed it like every other year, or done what I did next? Because I opened my trunk and grabbed the gifts I'd brought. Thoughtful gifts, expensive ones, personalized ones, the kind I'd stayed up late ordering because I still believed effort mattered. I walked back inside. The room went quiet as soon as they saw my arms were full. I set the gifts down one by one right in front of the tree. I looked at my mom, my sister, everyone who'd stayed silent, and I said clearly, evenly, "This was the last Christmas you'll ever get anything from me." You could hear the heat click on. No kids laughing, no phones recording, just shock. Then my sister shot to her feet, face red, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You're overreacting." And that's when everything truly unraveled. Because what she said next, and what I finally told them about why I was done, turned this from an awkward moment into a family reckoning. Do you think I went too far? Or do you think I waited far too long? Very soon, I'll tell you what happened after that scream and why my mom's reaction changed everything. I didn't sit back down. That detail matters more than it sounds, because sitting would have meant surrendering the moment. It would have meant letting everyone believe this was just another emotional flare-up that would pass if they waited me out long enough. Instead, I stayed on my feet, my daughter on my hip, her little arm looped around my neck, the broken keychain clutched in her fist like proof. My sister's words were still hanging in the air. "You're overreacting," she said it loud, the almost triumphant the way people do when they think they found the magic phrase that shuts everything down. I stared at her for a second, then let out a short, breathy laugh, the kind you make when reality feels slightly unreal, overreacting. I repeated, Did anyone else hear what Mom just said?" My sister rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might stick. "Oh my God, here we go, you always do this. You take something small and turn it into a whole production." Around us, the room had gone into shutdown mode. My dad suddenly needed to check his phone. My aunt busied herself stacking wrapping paper that didn't need stacking. The kids sensed the shift and went quiet instinctively. No one wanted to touch this. I adjusted my daughter on my hip. She rested her head against my shoulder, completely relaxed, completely safe. And that contrast nearly knocked the air out of my lungs. "She's 3, I said quietly. No one answered. I waited, counted to 3 in my head. Still nothing. So I continued, my voice steady but low. "I'm just trying to understand. Can someone explain how this?" I nodded toward the broken keychain makes sense next to bikes and iPads. My mom finally spoke, and of course it came with a sigh. "Is it the one she uses when she wants everyone to know how exhausted she is by me? Not everything has to be equal," she said. "You're raising her to be entitled." That word hit me harder than the joke had. I felt heat rise up my neck. Entitled, I repeated slowly for expecting basic consideration. My mom shrugged, she shrugged. "You chose a different life." "We do what we can. Different life." I'd heard that phrase my entire adulthood. Different choices, different priorities, different rules. It was their favorite way of justifying why I always got less. Less patience, less support, less generosity while pretending it was neutral. I looked down at my daughter again. She was quietly playing with the broken clasp, humming to herself, utterly unaware of the social hierarchy she'd just been assigned a place in. And suddenly, I wasn't standing in that living room anymore. I saw future Christmases where she'd noticed the difference. Future birthdays where her gifts were late or forgotten. Future car rides where she'd ask me, "Did I do something wrong?" And I knew bone deep that if I let this slide, I'd be complicit. I bent down and reached into one of the gift bags I'd brought. My sister noticed first. Her eyes flicked to the logo, then back to my face. "Wait," she said quickly. "What are you doing?" I lifted the first gift and held it up. "This one was meant for you," I said evenly. I'd spent weeks choosing it. I watched her face change, first confusion, then something closer to worry. I reached into another bag. "This was for your husband," then another. "Mom, this one was yours." Recognition spread fast. They knew exactly what these gifts were. They knew the price, the thought, the time behind them. My sister stepped forward. "Okay, stop, this is getting ridiculous." "I'm not done," I replied, my tone still calm. One by one, I placed each gift back into its bag, folded the tissue neatly, and closed them. No tossing, no theatrics, just control. "These are going back to my car," I said. "And they're staying there, because I'm done showing up places where my child is treated like she doesn't matter." My sister scoffed, folding her arms. "So now you're punishing everyone because Mom made a joke." I met her gaze. "Jokes are supposed to be funny." The silence that followed felt heavy, pressing against my chest. Then my mother straightened, her lips pulling into that familiar tight line. "If you walk out with those gifts," she said coldly, "don't expect things to stay the same." There it was, the threat. The emotional leverage. And what surprised me most was this. For the first time, it didn't scare me. Something settled inside me instead. Certainty. I didn't leave right away. Not yet. I stood there, the gift bags in my hands, her words hanging in the air like a dare. Don't expect things to be the same. And suddenly, I felt relief. Because I realized I didn't want things to be the same, I smiled, not sarcastic, not dramatic, just enough to unsettle them. That's kind of the point, I said. My sister frowned. What does that even mean? I set the bags down slowly beside the tree, the same tree where my daughter's broken keychains were still scattered on the floor, half covered by wrapping paper. I wasn't shaking, I wasn't rushing, and that calm made everyone uncomfortable. You're acting like this is about one comment, I said, one bad gift. Then I looked at my mother. But this didn't start today, and you know it. She crossed her arms. I'm not doing this, you're rewriting things. I nodded. Then let's talk about what actually happened. The room went so quiet I could hear the heater click on. Do you remember my baby shower? I asked. My sister groaned. Why bring that up now? Because that's where it started, I said. That's when I was gently told not to expect much because I wasn't married. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it. And her first birthday, I continued. When you suggested keeping it simple since she wouldn't remember, I paused. Funny how everyone else's kids still got big celebrations. That's not fair, my sister snapped. Neither is pretending it never happened, I said. I scanned the room, tight faces, eyes avoiding mine. And last Christmas, I said quietly, when her stocking was forgotten. That was a mistake, my mom said sharply. Maybe, I replied. But mistakes don't usually happen over and over like that. That's when I felt it shift. Not anger yet, discomfort, like they were realizing I wasn't reacting. I was recounting facts. I didn't plan to say any of this today, I added. I actually hoped it would just be normal. I reached into my purse. My sister let out a nervous laugh. Oh my God. What now? I pulled out a thick envelope. My mother's expression changed instantly, not anger. Fear. What is that? She asked. An email, I said. From Aunt Carol. The silence was immediate. My mother whispered, why would she email you? Because she felt guilty, I said, and because she assumed I already knew. I opened it and read aloud, slow and clear. She wrote about the planning for Christmas, the discussion about budgets, about who needed more, and about how my daughter wouldn't really notice anyway. That's not how it was meant, my sister shouted. Intent doesn't erase impact, I replied calmly. I folded the letter and slid it back into the envelope. The real surprise, I said, is that this happened. It's that you thought I wouldn't see it, or that I'd keep accepting it. My daughter shifted in my arms, rubbing her eyes. Mama, she whispered, can we go home? That hurt more than anything else. I picked up the gift bags again, then something else happened. My father slowly stood, carefully, like his knees hurt, or maybe his conscience did. He cleared his throat. I think, he said, not looking at my mother, she's right. Every head turned. My mother stared at him. At Christmas dinner, I finally said what I'd been holding in for years. To my shock, my dad spoke up and admitted we'd been treated unfairly. For one fragile moment, I felt hope, real hope, that things might finally change. Then my mom laughed and turned accountability into blame. She dismissed my feelings and reduced my daughter to a choice I made. That's when something in me went cold. I realized this wasn't about a holiday anymore, it was about my child's worth. I calmly set a boundary and prepared to leave. My mom tried to control the moment, warning me not to come back. Instead of breaking, I stood firm. That's when my dad begged me not to go and took responsibility out loud. I made one thing clear. My daughter doesn't need perfect grandparents, she needs safe ones. When my daughter softly said goodbye, it broke something open. Real tears followed. Not drama, truth. We left peacefully. That night was just me and my daughter, lights, music, hot chocolate, and safety. I felt proud, not sad. Days later, my mom called and simply said, I was wrong. No excuses, just listening. Things aren't perfect now, but they're honest. I stopped begging to belong. My daughter walks into rooms knowing she does. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. It's how you teach people how to love you properly.